The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Sold out for weeks due to the difficult and extensive proprietary process behind its creation, the exclusive InfoWars Life Secret 12 formulation is now back in stock in the last limited shipment of 2014. The most bioactive form that has been created with our proprietary process. This ultra-clean vitamin B12 nutraceutical has been carefully crafted and developed over the last 2 years and is based on cellular science of how your body actively absorbs essential nutrients. Secret 12 is taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Vitamin B12 deficiency is linked to scores of serious problems. And Secret 12 is a fusion of 2 organic proprietary forms of vitamin B12, bringing you a true nutraceutical quality vitamin B12. Secret 12 is an excellent Christmas gift. Secure your Secret 12 formula before December 17th at InfoWarsLife.com and receive it before Christmas guaranteed. That's InfoWarsLife.com before December 17th or by calling 888-253-3139. 2015 is almost here, and with it comes those New Year's resolutions to finally transform your body the way you want it. There's a reason over 88% of New Year's resolutions fail. Make this year different by equipping yourself with Oxy Powder, the next level in cleansing the body naturally. Using super oxygenation, Oxy Powder, available through InfoWarsLife.com, gently cleanses the body while you sleep with easy capsules. InfoWars Nightly News Director Rob Dew has been using Oxy Powder with incredible success.
Took it that first day, and then I took it for 6 more days after that. 12 pounds melted off in about a week. I'd say a week, 7 days. And I've been able to keep it off, too. My wife was like, wow, you look really good. And I'm like, I know. I guess it's this Oxy Powder.
2015 can be different. Diet and exercise are important, but a lot of us have already tried that. Oxy Powder flushes it out. Secure your Oxy Powder at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put 2 and 2 together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled I-N-F-I-D-E-L, bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with Super Male or Super Female Vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this Thursday, December 11th, 2014. I'm joined now with Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, retired. We're going to talk about his personal experience, what he saw as far as torture goes. Just before the break, I was talking about torture at the highest level, and I want to get back into that as we start talking about this, Joe. But before I do, I want to let you know about our Secret 12, which is now back in stock. It's been sold out for weeks. We have a very difficult proprietary processing to get it in, but it's back in limited supply. This is the last shipment we're going to get until 2015, and it can take anywhere from weeks or months. We're talking about secret governments and secret tortures, but there's no secret here that B12 is very, very important for your nutrition. This is nutraceutical grade, proprietary B12. It's taken by mouth, no needles, no injections. And it's got 2 forms of bioactive and super powerful B12. Secure yours now before we blast it out to our list tonight. We expect our limited supply to sell out, and you can get it by Christmas if you get it by December 17th. So we're getting pretty close to that deadline. If you're going to get anything from the InfoWars store, you need to get it by December 17th for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Now, Joe, before the break, I was talking about how the people that we see now as head of the CIA, head of Homeland Security, head of the FBI, These are guys who are all doing cover for all this torture at the top level. Now, of course, we're told by this whitewash report from Senator Feinstein that nobody knew. Nobody knew. I mean, for 10 years, we've been talking about this at least. Okay, everybody's been talking about what's going on and complaining about it. But, of course, the White House didn't know until after legal clearance was given, and then they told George Bush about it. Colin Powell didn't know about any of this. These are reports we're seeing from NBC.
These are people who should know about this.
Yeah, exactly. So if they didn't know about that, then what are they doing in the position that they're in? I mean, at the very least, they should be fired. But, of course, nobody is going to go to jail for any of this. Instead, not only is nobody going to get punished, not only is nobody going to get shamed, and I think that was a big part of this, of course. Dianne Feinstein was very angry that she got spied on, and her staff got spied on when they were doing this investigation. They took years to look at this. They've been looking at it for over 6 years. I think they've spent like $40, $60 million on just their staff to investigate this. They were complaining about the fact that they had outside contractors who were paid $80 million.
Well, John Brennan said it wasn't spying, it was searching. They were just searching.
They were searching, okay. Yeah, this is something. Kurt Nemo's got a story up on Infowars.com today. Nazis designed the torture instruments for maintenance of CIA's terror war charade. He points out that this goes all the way back to Operation Paperclip, and even further than that, it goes back to the Nazi regime of 1937. They actually had a German term for enhanced interrogation, something they could do that would essentially not show up and cause any embarrassment for the people. And then as a reporter, he cites here, Annie Jacobson says, former Nazis were at the forefront of developing torture techniques for the U.S. government. Same thing we've seen with the biochemical weapons that were brought into Fort Detrick and other places. They brought these guys in from Germany, from Japan, who had been experimenting on people. They brought them in and made them the core of our bioweapons research. They also did the same thing at the CIA, making them the core of torture. They say the work took place at a clandestine facility in the American zone of occupied Germany called Camp King. The facility's chief medical doctor was Operation Paperclip's Dr. Walter Schreiber, former Surgeon General of the Third Reich. And the activities that went on in Camp King between 46 and the late 50s have been never fully accounted for by the Department of Defense or by the CIA, just as we're seeing today. So this is something that is a long-standing problem. It's not something we're just learning about from Dianne Feinstein. What Dianne Feinstein is trying to do is to give herself and Republicans immunity from prosecution and blame it all on the CIA. And then the CIA, nothing happens to them because they can say everything is a matter of national security.
Well, the people they put in charge of the salt box area overseas where they were interrogating people, they said that the person they put in charge had never even worked in interrogations and or worked around prisoners. So you're going to put these people in charge of trying to get human intelligence, and they have no clue what they're doing whatsoever.
Let's talk about what you saw there, because when you and I went to Fort A.P. Hill and we were looking at the American replica city that they have built there for the military to train and for police to train against the American people. And that's where this is all coming, folks. Make no mistake about it. When we talk about the fact that the head of Homeland Security, the head of the FBI, these are guys who were involved in making legal excuses to try to give legal cover for this torture operation. They were rewarded. They were promoted to the head of our civilian law enforcement agency. So we were at this training facility looking at what they had there in terms of buildings, and we came across a building, and you said, that looks very much like the building that we used to deliver people to for what you believed was torture. Tell us about
well, think about this. 10 years ago, when I went through training to go to the theater, Iraq, the places we trained at looked just like it. Here we are, 10, 12 years later, and everything looks like small-town America.
Yes.
And now I'm seeing some of those same things integrated from combat theater overseas now into these training exercise areas like Fort A.P. Hill or like the one at Camp Lejeune, where now you're seeing these torture chambers being put into small-town USA training areas. And then we have the Marines out in L.A. conducting all these raids as well. So it's scary what it looks like it's coming to.
Yeah, and on the very same day that Dianne Feinstein releases her report, they passed the NDAA again for the 4th time under her leadership. And, of course, that's going to have indefinite detention by the military without trial. presumably rendition as well as torture would all be included in that. Anybody that they claim is an enemy combatant. And then we see today that they have just tried to give themselves legal cover to spy on all Americans' communications without ever pretending that they need to go before a judge or get any verification from that in terms of a subpoena or a court order as required by the Constitution. They just ignore the Constitution and pass their law.
Well, it was interesting for me, David, when I was overseas, we would catch people who we knew, and I could tell with a gut feeling and seeing the things that they've done were bad people. We would catch them, and they would release them 2-3 days later. Mm-hmm. Now, people that, for beyond my reasons, they would take and torture. You know, we would catch and release these people who make IEDs and things like that, people who actually went out and had a record of attacking coalition forces and attacking with suicide bombers and placing IEDs and small arms attacks, complex attacks. Those people, in essence, would be hided, put into a biometric scanning system, and then released to go back out and continue to do bad stuff. But we would take these people from like opium fields and farmers, and if they didn't want to play ball, they'd come back. And they'd go in these rooms, and we'd have to sit outside, and I'd have to hear screaming. It's one of those things, to hear a grown man scream so much that it goes from screaming to weeping. And the scariest part was when it went to silence. And you didn't hear anything else again.
Wow.
And not ever knowing if that person was going to come out or not, because sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't.
That's just horrific. And, of course, we've seen some new things come out of this in terms of rectal feeding. Nobody had been talking about that. But we've known about the waterboarding for quite some time. And one of the things that we were told that they now say is a lie, of course, we knew it was a lie, that they were getting effective intelligence out of all this. When you talk about them catching, torturing, and releasing, the thing that went through my mind was going back to the Vietnam War. And I used to hear people that were a little bit older than me that went there talking about how they would go in and they would take an area and then they would just walk out and leave it again. And it's like, what's going on with that? The only way that that makes any sense is if you understand that the people who are running these wars want it to continue. They want it to escalate. When you catch these people, you torture them, and then you release them, what are they going to do?
Retaliate.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what happened with the drone program. I think it's amazing that Brennan, who was running legal cover for them and was at the CIA, he's running legal cover for the enhanced interrogation. And, of course, he's Obama's first choice for CIA director, but then postpones it for 5 years. In the meantime, he puts him in charge of the drone assassination program. And, of course, he said a lot of interesting things about that. In June 2011, current CIA Director Brennan claimed U.S. counterterrorism operations had not resulted in, quote, a single collateral death in the past year. Then as they look at it, he goes, well, all right, 45, 56. Then a little bit later, 76. What they said was Brennan claimed that he said we had no information about any civilian non-combatants. And what people said was this was based on the assumption that anybody that was military-aged, any military-aged male, was a combatant, unless proven otherwise.
You know what's interesting, though, is we release 5 top Taliban leaders for Abu Bergdal, and yet there's still people in Guantanamo that they say they have no reason to hold them whatsoever, and they know that these enhanced torture techniques don't work at all. They don't get any viable information whatsoever out of them.
Well, one of the things that we had in a story that came out, one of the quotes that came out of the report was that someone said, you're never going to get out of here because we don't want anybody to know what we did to you. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing it. But, of course, that is the key thing. And they didn't really try to get to the bottom of anything in the Senate report. They didn't interview anybody who was, they didn't interview anybody they believed had tortured people with the CIA. They didn't interview very many. I didn't see they interviewed anybody who was a victim. These are reports that we heard of people who did get released, I believe. But there wasn't any discussion of what was going on in any direct sources. After 6 years of this, they never talked to anybody that did this or anybody that suffered from this. They just basically gave it a whitewash, looking at emails and documents.
Well, one night we caught some guys who were emplacing IEDs. We saw them through our NVGs and put bags over their head, zip tied it, separated them, 50 yards apart. And then the guys would go up that were with us. They're not regular military, I'll say that. Would go in there and you would see them like poking at them and Like, you don't speak English, do you? And, you know, the guy would just kind of sit there and he's like, I bet there's one word you do know, though. Guantanamo. And you see the guys literally